So when this news broke, I was hesitant to talk about it because at first I was pretty much thinking it was an early April Fool's joke that got out a little too quickly. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. But I'm going to cover it anyways. And then when it showed up on Hasbro Pulse, I was like, okay, there's probably some legitimacy here to it. But let's talk about this Transformers Generation Selects Titan Class Black Zarak, a heavy repaint and retool of the original Titan Class Scorponok figure. Now, the reason why I was hesitant about this is because Hasbro has had a very different stance on the large price point Titan Class stuff in recent years. Since the closure of Toys R Us and the difficulties that GameStop has been going through, the placement for a large piece of product like that in its box on shelving space has had a hard place finding a home. And Hasbro has talked about playing with the idea of retiring the concept of the Titan class for retail anyhow, and maybe doing 2 commander classes a year or something like that. This was all early, just, we're having the discussion, you know? And the belief was, well, then maybe Titan class will be a limited run thing that'll be left for Amazon and Hasbro Pulse and possibly other online retailers that have that kind of floor space, which would be obviously a warehouse as opposed to that of a walk-in kind of store location. And I think this now adds more credence to it. So let's talk about this. So it went up for pre-order today on the Hasbro Pulse website. Transformers Generation Selects Titan Class Black Zarak. Now, for people who aren't familiar with the character, Scorponok, also known as Mega Zarak in the Transformers Headmasters Japanese exclusive anime series. After he escaped, he went away, and then he came back while working with Devil Z. And I don't want to spoil too much when I go deep into that, but he got a new paint scheme, new body, and he was now known as Black Zarak. And even the original toy had a little bit of a brand new head sculpt and some new little bells and whistles going on. It was notoriously known for its gold plastic syndrome, and considering how expensive a toy it was in the secondary market, led to a lot of people's hesitations to going out of their way to pick it up, despite it being, again, one of those large, beefy Transformers at a time when we didn't have Titan classes. So people were even hesitant to buy it because, there's a lot of ratchets on it, it's a big figure, a lot of breakable areas. This kind of almost rectifies that in a whole other way. Now, while it's not the original toy, it does give people an opportunity to get the character. And it does a very good job at representing that character in its new iteration. We almost, in a lot of ways, could have seen it. Maybe the writing was on the wall when we had the Hasbro Selects figure all the while back in early 2020 of Black Rorichi, which was, again, a Black Zarak repaint of the Fast Track modulator slash, I guess we'll call it, weaponizer figure that was meant to go with Scorponok. He was the gold Rorichi that originally came with the old Black Zarak toy back in 1988. It could be, interpreted as a Tyrant Spear that came with Black Zarak, and so here we are, more or less. Again, I like that they resculpted brand new head sculpt, brand new robot mode for the head sculpt with the damaged chest, the pirate patch eye. A lot of cool stuff going on here. The Tyrant Spear, I'm surprised that they did it because it's not Grand Maximus. Yeah, Grand Maximus, excuse me. Grand Maximus, the 1988 homage of the old Masterforce character when it was done by Fortress Maximus of his Titan class, it didn't sell well in Japan. They had to reach 3,000 units to get the Pretender shell to be included with it. It didn't even reach that much. And the rumored number was something around like 2,000. So not a lot of them. That's less than a BotCon exclusive even. So it was quite surprising how if an Autobot character of that large size didn't sell well, how well with this one. I think this one might do a little better primarily because it's a different market than it was, say, 3 years ago when that Grand Maximus was a thing. combined with the fact that this is a character that if you wanted to own his original Japanese version, it was expensive and fragile, and it just led to so many headaches and so many things going like, man, even if I shell out the $1,000 to get a complete 100% minty one, I might touch it and then it turns into dust. So it was something that, that factor also existed, so people were hesitant to pick up that version of the character. There has been, I guess probably the closest thing to a modernized Black Zarak was there was the Cybertron Black Scorponok, which was I think they called it Dark Scorponok, which was a black repaint with the gold accents of the Energon Scorponok mold, and that was probably as close as we got to it at that point. So this is a welcome surprise. Sucks that it's a Generation Select for someone like me, because that ain't happening. Oh man, that ain't happening. Just doesn't get shipped over here. So it's it's awesome. I'm very happy for a lot of people that'll be able to get this. And I mean, I guess the writing kind of was on the wall when we got Black Rorichi at the beginning of last year, that sooner or later maybe this would happen. But what this does open up, though, more importantly than anything else, despite this, is that it opens up the conversation now of the future of Titan class. In that if they need to do obscure repaints, if we need to do a Metro Titan from Metroplex, if we need to do a Brave Maximus from Fortress Maximus, if we need to do a G2 Devastator from, Combiner Wars Devastator, the conversation goes on and on. The platform could be Generation Selects, could be Amazon, or some of these other warehouse kind of systems that don't need to have retail worrying about, well, I don't have the shelf space for it. Because that was the big problem, is that when Toys R Us went away, Walmart and their SKU and how they do things was not really keen on putting a Scorponok, which some of them did. Most of it was a Target kind of thing, but they weren't too keen on putting a 2 per case Scorponok on their shelves and taking a lot of that real estate that goes towards other product. Not to mention it's a bigger investment. Look here, it's a pre-order $159.99 to put $159.99 product in a public shelving thing where a kid could pick it up and drop it and damage it, after the mom doesn't want to buy it. It's too risky. So this is something that it's also something that's going to create a whole new conversation on the future on large high-end Transformers, where they're going to find their place in the future. And this might be the case, especially with the evolution of what's happening with the toy industry to begin with. It's a possibility. Same thing when I talked about how, maybe future HasLabs could also go about it this route. But this is interesting. Again, Generation Select, so clearly a HasLab kind of exclusive, and of course through different, obviously, retailers that'll pick it up through a secondary market kind of thing. It says here the pre-order ends next year, literally next year, January 1st, 2022. So you got a lot of time to mill on this one. There's no rush. Although it might sell out. I don't know. That's what I think is what might be crazy, is this thing might sell out right away before that pre-order limit ends. We don't have a shipping date, but it'll probably be obviously sometime after that. And chances are you'll be able to finally get a Black Zarak minus the GPS, and much more bigger and imposing. Very good stuff. Masterforce is one of my favorite Transformer series, so that's really good news to hear. I'm really curious to see the logic behind this and the decision behind it more than anything else, because that will be more important than anything else for us as fans, because it'll help us know what their head is and where their head is in the future when it comes to this kind of price point and product.